Hey everyone, I am doing my Daily Sprout today for you in a video method. I thought, this might be kind of a nice way to do this today, simply because it's really something I like to kind of share my emotion on more than just give you some words. So today's today's Daily Sprout, I should say, is really all about the philosophy of health. So, when we consider, and this just came from, I just came out of church and we just kind of got this message about how you look at the world through this frame of reference, through this window, so to speak. And I've said this for years, how health begins with philosophy. And sometimes it just makes sense to share it. So because everyone has a philosophy on health, whether you've defined it and verbalized it, thought about it, or just let it kind of happen, you have a philosophy of health. And what I mean by that is, there's a certain framework in which you consider health decisions. So when somebody teaches you something about health, then you either listen to that and you think, oh, that makes sense, and that I trust in that, or I believe that, or you might say, well, I'm not too sure about that, and you're using your philosophy to kind of guide that. But I think what's important is that you've at least taken the time to consider, well, what is your philosophy of health? Because what happens is, if your philosophy is loosely guided by what you've heard here, what you've heard there, but then in most cases more so by the fear that has been driven into you, whether I fear this, I fear that, I don't fear this, I don't fear that, that usually is kind of what guides us. And sometimes if we don't really ever think about, well, does that fit the rest of my life and my framework or my philosophy on life, then we find ourselves having a philosophy of health that isn't congruent with our other beliefs. And so years ago, I had a patient, Melissa, and I talked with her about starting this group called Out of the Box Health. And the idea was to take God out of the box as it relates to our health. And what I mean by this is, if you have a bend towards creation and God, which I do, or if you don't, it's still going to apply the same way, in that we want to consider, what do I believe? And do these beliefs relate back to the way I consider health decisions? And so